right, let's watch it. Oh, that sound! Oh, and then it dives in. Oh, that's cinema. Oh, that's cinema. And then the disc would break and it would bug out too. I'm gonna listen to that one more time. Oh yeah, that's so good.
Do you ever
Oh,
think back to when video games were just
Kingdom
simple?
Hearts
When
1!
games could just be games, and you could be an idiot 6-year-old who can't figure out how to get off the starting island in Kingdom Hearts. Yeah.
Oh my god, that I hated that. I'm not gonna lie, the only thing that I did in Kingdom Hearts 1 was like the first boss in the town, and then everything else was impossible for me.
You actually, you gotta hit the tree to get the coconuts. The coconuts will fall down. Hit it. Yeah. It feels like back then they could just make anything they wanted to. Studios took chances, building experiences that, while not perfect, were still iconic. And don't get it twisted, all right? I like the AAA games we're getting right now. I'm definitely not saying that video games aren't fun anymore. But
Like, very few are fun. I would say, I think Expedition 33, like, in the last month has been a really good show of what non-AAA games can do.
I can't help looking back at all these older games and missing the charm that they all had, especially compared to now. They definitely weren't all fantastic, but when
No, that's true. Yeah, there was a lot of garbage, but it was obvious garbage. Nobody bought it.
I look back at them, they all just seem so whimsical and wonderfully simple to me. And sure, you know, that opinion is probably largely shaped around nostalgia.
Yeah.
And it's more likely I miss the simpler times in my life, which we'll talk about nostalgia more towards the end of the video, but
I think nostalgia is a very, very powerful thing, but at the same time, I bought Kingdom Hearts, I think probably like 6 months ago, and I played it for a bit, and it still had so much charm to it, even though it was annoying and difficult, and I still had to read a playthrough, like a guide, to know what to do next. I have no idea how I got through those games as a child. I'm not gonna lie.
I do mean this literally. I adore the simplicity of the games from this era. When I talk about a time when video games were simple, I think a different time period probably comes to each of our heads, right? For you, it might be the PS1 or even the Atari if you're ancient and decaying. For me, I think of the PS2 and just all those classic games from that console. Like Kingdom Hearts, Jak and Daxter, Sly Cooper, Ratchet and Clank, the weird game with the alien face on the cover that...
The PlayStation Portable, oh my god. I had a PlayStation Portable. My godfather and godmother bought me one because I begged them to, and my parents were like, fine, you can buy her one for Christmas. Chat, I legitimately broke the keys off of that because I played so much Tekken Dark Resurrection. I broke it. I played so much. I wasn't careless, by the way. I loved it so much, but I broke the keys because I fucking played it.
Kind of freaked me out too much to pick up. The hundreds of stupid licensed games that came out around this time that were all just exactly the same, except that one. I loved that one.
Oh man, Simpsons Hit and Run is so good. People still play it, like, and speedrun that shit.
Every game didn't have to be a groundbreaking cinematic masterpiece, and it could just be a fun game. One aspect I really admire about those PS2 games is that they seem to prioritize gameplay and fun over anything. Whereas anymore, it seems gameplay gets sidelined by the cutscenes and the...
And also, it's not a fucking theme park where you have to have your arms in the fucking ride the whole time. You can do whatever the fuck you want. It has that charm to it, too. Like, yeah, it's annoying having to figure everything out yourself at the same time, but when you figure it out, it's like a eureka moment.
Story. The gaming industry has changed a lot over the years, okay? It's not your grandpa's GameCube anymore. We got esports teams and VR chat twerk-offs now. The Last of Us is a phenomenal game series that tells a familiar yet strikingly unique story and has some of the best character writing I've ever seen in a video game. Due to some not-so-careful redactions, we learned that on their latest entry, The Last of Us Part 2, Naughty Dog spent $220 million over the course of 6 years.
And what did that give you? A shitty fucking show.
To develop the game. To put that into perspective, they developed the first Crash Bandicoot game for $1.7 million.
That is a fucking fraction, bro. That's criminal. Is it money laundering, Chad? Do you think it's money laundering? 220 million versus $2 million. I'm rounding up.
With that $220 million, they delivered on these stunning, cutting-edge graphics, as well as creating a gripping narrative and overall impactful experience.
Yeah, the first
but when
one
you
was
play
pretty
these
good.
games, it becomes abundantly clear that The Last of Us does not embrace its identity as a video game at all. The gameplay
It's a movie. It's a glorified movie.
loop consists of you walking around slowly, looking at everything like you're in a museum, maybe avoiding some mushroom zombies sometimes. And if you walk into an area with waist-height walls, you know some guys are gonna come out and try to shoot at you.
Thank you. Oh my god, that is like the most tilting thing ever. Like, it's the same thing as seeing yellow paint in a video game. I hate that shit.
Combat is passable at best, and over time just becomes a boring obstacle between you and the next cutscene. It really is a shame, you know, because the world they've built is so beautiful to look at.
They could have just made it into a movie or a show, like this in essence, but I guess that was too difficult.
But there's nothing to touch. I'm all for story in a game, but it should never take precedent over the actual gameplay. And hey,
You could say the same about Red Dead Redemption. I disagree because you can do whatever the fuck you want in Red Dead Redemption. You don't have to follow the campaign at all. You can do whatever the fuck you want. You can go and like hunt and run around and fucking hunt and catch horses and fucking play poker and shit. The gameplay and gunplay was mid. I don't know. I disagree. I really loved it, but that's your opinion, man. I don't think so. I think it's a fantastic game. I skipped a lot of the campaign for like a good long while, and I just walked around and fucking explored the world and also hunted legendary animals, and I thought that was cool, but maybe I'm just a simplistic person. The music and the lighting and the graphics are just enough for me.
a problem solver, all right?
Yeah.
I'm here to help you, Naughty Dog. I'm gonna tell you exactly what you have to do to fix this problem. You go through a couple of levels, you get us really hooked in, and then you give Ellie a fishtail and you have her swim around and sing a really bad song with Ariel from The Little Mermaid. And the song's gotta be really, really bad. Really, it's gotta be horrible. No, you're right, you can't do that, okay? It's a serious game with a serious tone. We don't need to do any of that. You know, no game has ever...
Fucking Yakuza is the epitome of that, where it's like you still have to follow a storyline, and it is a roller coaster game where you have to, you know, be inside of the, you know, ride to enjoy it, but you still have a lot of fun doing it because it doesn't take itself too seriously.
Retained its serious tone while breaking immersion slightly for the sake of fun. It's never been done. It's not gonna happen, all right? Bad example. I'm sorry. Let's look at the Insomniac Spider-Man games instead. You know, they're wacky and less based in realism. They had a phenomenal story, except for the third act of the second game. I'm still pretty mad about that. Peter should have been Venom. I'm standing on that business. And the gameplay here, oh my God, they got it perfect. They did it. They did what Naughty Dog couldn't do.
This is cool.
Sometimes. I could web sling around the city all day, and they had their Little Mermaid moment with Venom and I guess Mary Jane now. That was all right. But what I want to talk to you about specifically are the mini games. You know, those little moments where it's like, oh, Peter's a scientist. Here's some scientist stuff. Match up these different colors and lines because he's a scientist. It's science stuff. Those have got to be the worst mini games ever.
It's kind of how vehicle quests in World of Warcraft exist. I hate that so much. Yeah, like for example, in The Witcher 3, you don't have to play Gwent if you don't want to. Like you can, it can be part of the story, and there are places where you can play and like talk to characters and like sit down and play a game of Gwent, but like it's not like a gun to your head where you have to do it. It rips you out of the immersion of the game, in my opinion.
Made. And Insomniac knows it, because why else would they give you an option to skip them? It's all right, whatever.
Option to skip puzzles? What do you mean you don't have to? Yes, I said that. I said you don't have to play Gwent if you don't want to. That's what I said. Open your ears, man. That's why I appreciate it. Like, I never played Gwent, but like, if people like it, then that's awesome. Just enjoy yourself.
They didn't come up that much in the first one. I can get over it. At least I got to skip them and move on. Maybe they'll take them out by the second one. Wrong. It's different this time. Now it's in 3D and you got to take out the bad shapes. It's worse. It's somehow so much worse in this one. And I know it's a relatively...
I'm not playing a Dungeons and Dragon game like Baldur's Gate 3, man.
Small problem to point out, but man, just situations like this just make me miss games like Sly Cooper that would put you in a submarine and say there's crabs coming to steal the treasure, you have to shoot all the crabs and make sure they don't come get it. They didn't bother trying to make it make sense within the story. They just made something fun. I don't think every AAA game needs to be goofy, but I do think that video games are at their best when they embrace their identity as video games and deliver experiences only they can. It seems like they really went in this direction because these
And again, God of War, people have given me shit for it and being like, oh, Alana, God of War is a really good game. And I'm like, okay, that's fantastic, but it's still a keep your arms and legs in the fucking vehicle at all times, otherwise you're gonna get your fucking head ripped out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really like those kinds of games. At least give me a modicum, like, of fakeness where you can walk around and do stuff and it's not the end of the world.
Cinematic games have the most wide reach. They don't really want to risk it with something that might not appeal to everyone, right? We could never get an insane concept like Kingdom Hearts made today. The idea of taking these two insanely different franchises, Final Fantasy, a JRPG series, and the Disney multiverse, and mashing them together in some big world-hopping adventure led by a character nobody...
But Kingdom Hearts also had a massive flaw. It's called the fucking gummy ship. Unironically, I would want to twist the person's fingers off individually very slowly and dislocate them. I fucking hate the gummy ship. The gummy ship is unironically one of the worst mechanics in the fucking universe.
Ever heard of. That is just
Gummy
not
Ship in 1 is like actually pulling teeth.
And you know how this idea came to be? Well, apparently back in the 90s, Square Enix and Disney both had offices in the same building. And one fateful day, an employee from Square Enix and an employee from Disney just so happened to end up in the same elevator. And they got to talking and they were like, hello, cool. Disney employee I just met. Wouldn't it be cool to mash up our universes together and then send some kid around them beating everything up with a key?
Disney would never do that now, bro.
And that, kids, is how Kingdom Hearts came to be. I read it on nextshark.com, so you know it's true. If there ever was a video...
That's actually how it happened? How a pitch on an elevator ride made Kingdom Hearts possible? That's cinema. Wow.
So you know it's true. If there ever was a video game that embraced its identity as a video game, it is goddamn Kingdom Hearts. This game makes no sense, but it's so much fun. Why the hell is Cloud from Final Fantasy making a deal with Hades and fighting in the hero games on Olympus? I don't know. Who cares?
I get PTSD listening to this music. I fucking hate gummy ships so much.
I'm Sora, and I'm gonna hit this big dog with a key I found. When you travel between the different Disney worlds in Kingdom Hearts, sometimes the art style, the character designs, and even entire
Dude, this spawned so many furries on DeviantArt. Sora as a fucking lion. There's so many kid freaks that like realize they became furries.
And even entire gameplay mechanics will change based on where you go. I keep referencing the Little Mermaid level in Kingdom Hearts because genuinely when I played this, it was so mind-blowing to me. I love that even at a point so deep into this game, they were still willing to change the fundamental mechanics of how you play it just to keep things fresh. And don't even get me started on the goddamn Gummy ship. I don't know if it's Gumi or Gummy I've been saying.
Nah, hate it. Nope, hated it as a kid, hate it now as an adult. Shut the fuck up. Do not glaze this garbage. I understand. He's about to say, like, oh, it's innovative and, like, it's different. I don't give a fuck. They kept going with this into 2 and 3, and it still sucked.
And when I first played it, it was kind of annoying at first. I was thinking, why am I doing this? But now, anymore, I'm traveling between the worlds and I'm up in the Gumi ship. I'm just shooting stuff.
You're scary. You are terrifying.
Why the hell do they need a spaceship to get between the Disney worlds? I don't know why they thought they needed a spaceship, but it was awesome. And it was the Gumi ship. And
shut the fuck up. Gooey ship sucks.
Shut the fuck up. I'm not entirely
you.
sure if this is the case, but it really seems to me like when games were cheaper to make, studios were willing to make pretty much anything and just throw it out there. And listen, I was eating it up. I love sitting down crisscross applesauce on the floor of a GameStop, just going through the wall of so many different PS2 games, picking out insane shit like Marvel Nemesis, Rise of the Imperfects. I feel like I dreamed this. Sure, they were goofy and didn't exactly maximize profit, but does that mean they weren't worth making? I guess where AAA's concerned, it's just always going to be about the money. And if you want a passionate...
It always was about the money, even initially, like with Kingdom Hearts, obviously, but people were also willing to take risks. Now, if there's a modicum of risk of failure, they do not want anything to do with it because it means it's a loss. Or a potential loss.
Game developer, you look to the indie games. There's got to be some video essay YouTuber to indie game pipeline, because I was never really that into indie games, but recently I played Hades and Rollerdrome, and it was some of the most fun I've had playing games in a long time. While it seems the games that prioritize fun overall are only coming from indie developers anymore, there is a genre of game that was lost to time completely.
What?
And that, my friends, is the shitty licensed games. This has got to be...
Yo, really though, man? I remember there was one that was it a Simpson one? It wasn't the Hit and Run, or was it South Park? There was a really bad South Park game on the PlayStation.
The greatest loss in my lifetimes. Those shitty early 2000s movie tie-in licensed games that came with every mildly successful property. If there was a cartoon you liked in the early 2000s, tie-in game. If there was a movie you kind of enjoyed, tie-in game. Look up any franchise that had moderate success in this time period and add the game at the end, and you're probably gonna get something. It would be impossible to count how many there were, and they were all bad, but I loved them anyway. Like the Cat in the Hat movie tie-in game.
The Hogwarts before Hogwarts Legacy, they were the PlayStation and PC games. Yeah, they were shitty, but, like, in a lot of ways, but they had a lot of love put into them.
What a beautiful nightmare that was.
Oh, God.
Give me a bottle of Dayquil and the Cat in the Hat PS2 game, and I'm having a great week. If you've ever played one of these games before, you've probably seen this little intro screen.
THQ. Didn't THQ make like battery powered cars? Am I hallucinating? I swear to God, I remember going to the toy aisle and seeing this. Like, I seen this logo, and it was like, they just made like battery powered cars. THQ battery powered cars. Toys. Am I cooked? Did I hallucinate this when I was a child? I swear to God it was THQ. They made like little racing ones. It's a game studio? Maybe I'm hallucinating. Wrong company? Is it a very similar looking logo? I don't know, man. Maybe I'm cooked. Is it Tyco? Maybe it is,
was responsible for not all, but a lot of these tie-ins. It seemed their business model was to buy up the license for a mildly successful property, pump out a cheap, easy game, and launch it right when that movie or TV show was peaking in popularity so that they could feed off of that hype. And clearly it worked, because in the span of a couple of years, they released literal hundreds of games. They hit the cartoons hard. They got Jimmy Neutron, Scooby-Doo, so much SpongeBob, Fairly Odd Parents, Tack and the Mother-Fudging Power of Juju. This one was a banger. Rugrats.
Wait, that was crazy. That one went crazy.
That's Teen Titans, Barnyard, Danny Phantom, Avatar The Last Airbender.
This one was crazy.
So much SpongeBob. And they hit the movies too. Cars, The Incredibles, Ratatouille, WALL-E, Up. They had Star Wars under their belt. And episode 3 was a slapper. These guys dominated the licensed
This one was good. This SpongeBob one.
In games. And eventually, they just stopped. I was looking around the internet trying to figure out why they stopped, you know.
Because they didn't make any money. Like, because they were bad. Or at least most of them were bad.
Where did these go? And everything I found kind of suggested that they didn't stop making them, but they moved over to the more profitable sector of the video game market.
Mobile gaming!
The mobile games.
Yeah! Hey, there it is.
Wondering, is this an out-of-season April Fool's joke?
Oh.
And you know what? They were probably right to do so. Even I ended up spending money in Family Guy: The Quest for Stuff. I wanted to build my Quahog to look cool.
Holy fuck.
There were a lot of
Bro, this guy's cooked. Why would you ever?
these games, and most of them were bad. But for every 100 shitty cookie cutter games, there was one
gem.
Odds are, if you had a PS2, you probably played The Simpsons Hit and Run, which by all means should have just been another shitty tie-in in the series of shitty tie-ins. But
I watched a guy fucking speedrun this game for hours. It was so funny to watch.
this one just so happened to be amazing. It was a GTA clone that was like better than GTA. In fact, it did the multiple characters, the character switching before GTA 5 did it. That means The Simpsons
they were ahead of the game.
GTA 5. It is time to write another Kotaku article. Some of my personal favorites were The Matrix: Path of Neo.
Oh, The Matrix from the PS1. I remember Donkey did a review on it. It is actually so fucking bad.
I don't know why I liked this. I'd never seen The Matrix. I just really was drawn to this game because it made me feel like insane. I don't know how to describe it. I loved the Star Wars Episode 3 tie-in game because it had this cool alternate ending, and I was obsessed with this fight on Mustafar between Anakin and Obi-Wan, and so being able to do that and get a different result just like blew my little mind. And obviously, Spider-Man 2. I think a lot of people forget this was a movie tie-in game. And even this one had great mini games. The most iconic mini game where you go around delivering pizzas with that insane music playing. Why couldn't we get that in Insomniac Spider-Man instead of Match the Shapes and Colors? A licensed tie-in game that a lot of people liked was SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom. And I know a lot of people like this one because it got a big fat ring. We've established that the game studios are in this for the money, right? And it's safe to assume that they want
Resident Evil 4 unfortunately did suffer from the yellow paint syndrome though. And that's what I'm saying. Resident Evil 4 itself at first didn't have that fucking stupid yellow paint, but they introduced it, man. Because people are dumb and like they think everyone has to have their hands held.
the safest bets for their money.
Cringe.
The most revenue with the least risk. No brainer. Why don't they just take things people already like and do it again? But like make it pretty. Personally, I think this aversion
Oh man, is this guy innocent or something? Does he not realize what they've been doing for the last like 10 years?
to risk is absolutely doing damage to the industry, but what do I know? I'm just a guy, and clearly the numbers say otherwise. But I think in all of this, the consumer is not blameless. It is me. I'm the consumer. They're only gonna do something if they know we're gonna buy it, and oh man, am I gonna buy it. I've been loving the remakes lately, I'm not gonna lie. I don't really think we needed 5 iterations of the 2 Last of Us games.
Oh yeah, but they saw what Skyrim was doing and it was successful, chat. Like, there's no shot, man. There's no difference between these two, by the way. Remastered Last of Us? Horizon Zero Dawn? We need another one! It just came out!
But for example, like Resident Evil 4 remake or the Dead Space remake.
That's a
or
good
some
one.
of my favorite
Those are
games
good.
in 2023. They may have been remakes, yes, rehashing old ideas. But I felt like in those 2 examples specifically, they expanded the gameplay systems and made changes that honestly justified a remake. In Dead Space alone, the zero-gravity overhaul was game-changing, as well as a voiced protagonist where there wasn't one before. So they're not just throwing stuff out, you know, they actually do seem to care about some of these games.
Yeah.
The Resident Evil 4 remake was a
I don't have high hopes for the Fallout 3 remaster that got leaked. They said they were doing that. I don't know, I hope it's good, but I really hope that they don't just, like, make it worse somehow. That would really destroy me. I played the fuck out of that game.
That's the fresh air for me because I got the quality of life from a AAA game, but the goofy, campy fun from a PS2 game. The graphics were stunning and the gameplay was tight and well optimized. And I also got to go up to the shady weapons dealer and buy a rocket launcher to just shoot the final boss with.
Yeah!
I just cheesed the entire fight and the game let me. Because it was more fun that way. The simplicity that I had been missing.
I like that they kept that in, and Oblivion does the same thing. They kept in a lot of the stupid little quirks and bugs and voice acting bugs too.
Was right there, and I loved every second of it. To me, this trend of remakes is proof that I'm not alone in missing a time when video games were simple. And it's also proof that nostalgia can and will be weaponized at any moment possible. And memories are only good if they are profitable. I am happy that younger generations and just more people in general get to experience these games that I loved as a kid and see why for themselves. And also I'm happy that we get to experience these games in ultra-realistic graphics, 4K huevos shrinking technology. Only playable with the Gigafart 8500 graphics card. You may need to upgrade your PC to play this game. I
can't wait to have to get a 4090 to play the new Fallout 3. Thanks, Todd.
Appreciate good graphics. I mean, I really like when a game looks pretty, but I think this looks better than this. And this looks better than this. Technically, this has higher resolution and better lighting, but this has a better art direction. High resolution textures and pretty lighting are always going to be outshined by inspired art direction, creativity, and a focus on
and uniqueness, because like the difference between Horizon Zero Dawn, Last of Us, and God of War is only thematic. They all are like hyper-realistic graphics, whoa, different characters, but everything looks the same.
Atmosphere. This isn't something that's gone from modern gaming. In fact, a lot of recent games have left my jaw on the floor because they're so beautiful. Bloodborne, and Bloodborne. Holy shit, Bloodborne. I think it was more common to focus on art direction back then because they were limited. They couldn't make a realistic looking game. They had to do something unique. Even the games shooting for a realistic approach could not pull off realism. I mean, that is not realism, but still, it's iconic. A phrase I really like and I've used before in one of these videos is that limitation breeds creativity. Trying to make a game back on the PS2, I imagine, was extremely limiting. But
in Resident Evil 4, I'm pretty sure some levels and some sound designs were made the way they are because of the limitations of the hardware that they had at the time. Yep. Yeah, look it up. It's some sort of like, I think it's like a sound design, or it's like the level design. They had to like condense it. Oh, and the Silent Hill fog effects. Yes, that's a big one too. Yep. The reason why they had the fog is because they didn't have rendering distance to fit onto the cartridge or the CD or whatever.
But it made them so creative.
So it became part of the story.
Incredibly unique looking games. I often find that when creating something and you run into a problem, that solution that you come up with to the problem leads to an infinitely more interesting and unique final product. Like I said, we still get a lot of stunning games coming out lately, but I feel like now with the ability to actually create games that, while not perfectly realistic, look pretty damn real, that becomes the only focus, is making a game that looks realistic, not one.
And we're also reaching a peak where we're going like, we went bup, 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 and now we're like at this point and there's nothing like up here except for like virtual reality. We're petering out and people are starting to realize like, hey, we can't get any more. We're plateauing, yeah.
That is creative in its visuals. In a lot of ways, I miss those older games that we used to get, but I'm also glad for all the games that we get now. Like Ghost of Tsushima is one of my favorite games of all time.
I gotta try that.
Baldur's Gate 3, which I made an entire video on, you should go watch it, was a phenomenal experience. Compare that to the PS2 Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2, and it's no contest there. The only reason I might want to pick up and play Dark Alliance 2 is because I miss playing it with my dad when I was a kid. I used to live in this big greenhouse right on the corner lot and had a baseball field right across the street. I think the house used to be a church. It was definitely haunted. I was 8 years old when that house caught fire. I remember I was watching SpongeBob and I walked into the kitchen and I saw these crazy flames up all over the place. Long story short, the house got completely ruined and my dad got hurt pretty bad. But he recovered fine. They just took some skin from his butt and put it on his hand. I call it his
wow, dude.
Butt hand. This house though was mostly ruined and the property had a separate garage, like a barn kind of thing. And that garage had an attic. Well, my dad decided that we were gonna fix up the house ourselves and live up in that attic. Him and I shared this airbed up there, and right next to it was a projector that I had hooked up my PlayStation 2 and my original Xbox to. During the day, I'd obviously go to school, and then when I got home, I'd help him build however I could. You know, there wasn't much I could do. I was 8,
he's a little
but
kid,
I remember
yeah.
doing things like helping him put up the ceiling or chip away at the old stone slate in the fireplace. And when we were done for the day, I would go up and play on that PS2 nonstop. Not to get into too much detail, I'm just some guy on the internet. You don't know me. But I was having a hard time. Something about swinging around the city in Spider-Man 2 just made it all melt away, you know? I wasn't Zach with all this stress and all these problems I didn't understand. I was Spider-Man. I can only imagine how my dad felt at the time, but he always seemed happy when him and I were playing a video game together. 'Cause his kid is happy, he was just watching me play one, but we had a ton of fun, and
That's so beautiful, man. It probably not even like... He probably didn't even really care about the games, but it's just his kid's happy. Yo, people, what's up? Hi!
We would just laugh and hang out together playing Halo 2 on the Xbox, just going through the campaign. And
Halo!
it was in moments like that where it really felt like everything melted away. It didn't feel like we had just lost everything.
That's
beautiful, it felt like we had everything that we could ever need. And it's funny, now sometimes just hearing that PS2 sound, I'm back up in the attic with my dad. Nostalgia's
when I hear that PS2 sound, I remember how hot it is in the summer, and I can smell like, you know, like that humid hot air that kind of hits the grass and you can smell the trees a little bit. That's what I hear. When I boot up certain games, that happens too. I'm like, I can like smell it. It's so weird.
Funny thing. That
even
can
if
make
it's
you look back
wintertime or
fondly
something.
on things that might not have been so great, but were somehow perfect in their own way. And escapism through simple pleasures
sweaty
like
gaming
video
days.
games will always be important. I think we all have that game, or just media in general, that was able to give us a break from...
As a cringe as it is, that was wow for me. I would run away from my fucking problems and like, you know, people being horrible at school and shit. That was great.
Hard time in our lives and made us hold on to that experience forever. And so now we judge that media by what it did for us rather than what it actually is. I'd love to hear if there was anything like that that stuck with you, you know, either in a comment or send it to my email at this point.
I think that with how games work, people always dismiss that shit and they say like, oh, well, games aren't art. It's like, yeah, but art is supposed to evoke feelings, and how is nostalgia not a feeling? It's so powerful. You can remember sounds, smells sometimes, like even tastes. Like eating a food that your mom used to make and maybe your mom passed away or something. Like that makes you remember them. Like how is that not evoking a feeling? When it's summer, I think of all the Mega Man games. Yeah, anyone can feel anything from any game, man.
I don't care. I can't promise I'll get back to you, but if you want to, shoot me an email. I might see it. Thank you so much for over 100,000 subscribers. Geek really likes the plaque, so that's good. We sent it off to him. He's the real hero here. 100K is crazy. You know, I started another channel a while ago, and it took me so long. I was trying so hard to get to 100K. And with this one, I wasn't even trying. I just kind of did it. I mean, we did it, I guess. I don't know. That shit's cool. This is a cool thing to do. This is my simple pleasure now. So please simply click the card right here and watch another video. This got way too sappy. Click on some other funny shit, please. Okay, goodbye.
Goodbye. Oh, that was good. He was at 100K. Now he's at 400K. Good for this guy. Go give him a fucking like, chat. Fucking holy moly. Nah, man. I don't know. I feel like games have gotten worse, and there's very few games that can capture that love that people had. Because I just don't feel like... I feel like kids growing up now, they won't have the same feeling they did back when, like, we were kids playing that shit, you know? I don't know. Maybe I'm full of shit. Maybe I'm just boomed out as fuck.